All right, I guess we might as well discuss what was going on with Jaime Munguia and Edgar Berlanga's recent performances on opposite coasts. So, with that being said, roll that beautiful bean footage.
I hear him. Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier.
Hey, what's up with it, fam? It's Hot Boxing Minute, your favorite pharmaceutical engineer turned boxing analyst. And I know it wasn't the craziest weekend as far as big boxing events. We did have some decent fights that were full of fight cards, but nothing really big ticket. But I want to talk about the fights that we did see. Among them, let me see what I wrote down. Jaime Munguia's performance, Danny Dubois, let's talk about Josue Vargas, and let's talk about Edgar Berlanga. First things first, let's talk about Jaime Munguia. He got the 5th round stoppage over Jimmy Kelly. Now, in that fight with Jaime Munguia and Jimmy Kelly, we did see Jimmy Kelly actually have some early luck using his boxing technique, but eventually his timing got caught. Now, despite Jimmy Kelly's early success against Jaime Munguia figured out that timing, ended up catching him and got the 5th round stoppage. Now, prior to that stoppage, let's give credit to Jimmy Kelly. For the first 5 rounds, he at least made it entertaining. Jaime Munguia finally caught his timing in the 5th round and ended up knocking him down multiple times before the ref decided to throw mercy upon that man. At the end of that fight, Jaime Munguia called out Jamal Charlo. Why do I always get them mixed up? Anyways, Jaime Munguia ends up stopping Jimmy Kelly in the 5th round. In a post-fight interview, he calls out Jamal Charlo. Will we ever see Jamal Charlo finally fight Jaime Munguia, or vice versa? They both have been fighting opponents that both of their fan bases really would prefer they not fight, and both their fan bases would rather they fight each other. So can we please, boxing gods, can we get Jaime Munguia versus Jamal Charlo? We need to stop with this nonsense. Anyways, great performance by Jaime Munguia against a subpar competitor. No knock to Jimmy Kelly, but he really had no business being out there. He's great on the European level. You got to give it up to Jaime Munguia with another win. He goes to, I want to say 39-0 or 40-0, but it's time for them to face better competition. Either way, I'm still going to watch Jaime Munguia fights. It is what it is. Let's go on the opposite coast. Let's talk about Edgar Berlanga's performance against Romer Angulo. My goodness. How do we explain Edgar Berlanga's performance against Romer? He won, but he lost, if that makes sense. I'm not really sure how it is you can beat an opponent but still lose in the public's eye, but that's kind of what happened. Edgar Berlanga won a 10-round decision over Romer Angulo in a very lackluster fight that really was kind of anticlimactic. Now, I got to give credit to Edgar Berlanga. Edgar Berlanga was not headhunting in that fight. He was boxing the whole fight and staying behind a jab. His new trainer, what's his name? I wrote it down here. Okay, Juan De Leon. So Edgar Berlanga for this fight with Romer Angulo separated from Andre Rozier. They're still on good terms, and now he went with Juan De Leon and trained out there in Puerto Rico for this fight with Romer Angulo, and we saw a different Edgar Berlanga. He wasn't just headhunting, he was boxing, staying behind his jab. And while boxing purists can appreciate, I guess, that kind of a performance, at least see some value in it, you definitely know the fans were not happy seeing Edgar Berlanga kind of stay with his back towards the ropes and kind of circle around and not really engage Romer Angulo in the center of the ring. And that's definitely something that Edgar Berlanga is going to have to figure out. And like I said in previous posts, Edgar Berlanga, like I said, is a victim of the top-ranked marketing machine. He was 16-0 when he first started. 16 of those knockouts came by first round. And after that, he ran into some stumbling blocks, and he hasn't gotten a knockout since. He's won his last 4 fights by decision. The one he fought against Steve Rolls, some were arguing that he should have lost that fight. I'm not one of those people, but when you start off your career as this hype-train monster knockout machine, calling yourself the chosen, the boxing game is going to put certain expectations on you. And unfortunately, he's a young guy, and they're not letting him develop at his own pace. And because of the expectations placed upon him, and he's not achieving those expectations, now the boxing world is ready to fold on him and say that he's a lost cause, which is very unusual. Boxing fans in this day and age are so unforgiving of these fighters. You can be an undefeated fighter like Edgar Berlanga, and boxing is still trying to throw you away because now everybody's saying that Edgar Berlanga's fights are unwatchable. In that fight, I'm not going to lie, it was very anticlimactic and kind of hard to watch, but regardless, Edgar Berlanga won that fight. He's still undefeated, 20-0. Now, I think the general boxing public, as opposed to jumping on Edgar Berlanga's back, should at least give him a break and let him develop at his own pace. at the very least, there is some good that can be seen in that fight with Romer Angulo. Edgar Berlanga is no longer a headhunter. He's learning to box conscientiously and stay behind his jab. Now, a critic, I think it's easy. You can be like, oh man, after his fight with Steve Rose, he's gun shy. He never even got knocked out. Now it looks like Edgar Berlanga is afraid to commit to throwing power shots like he was in the early part of his career. That's definitely a perspective that is clearly defendable. It's very defendable to see it that way. But I don't know. I'm going to give the kid the benefit of the doubt. Obviously, if you guys follow my content, I always lean in favor of the fighters. So I still got faith in Edgar Berlanga, folks, under Juan de Leon's tutelage. I think he still has some salvageable career. Will he be the next Miguel Cotto? Probably not. I think where Edgar Berlanga started off as being the next guy for Puerto Rico, I think it's going to be Xander Zayas. Unless somehow, someway, in the next 2 to 3 years, Edgar Berlanga stays undefeated and shows us crazy new technical development and new skills under his new trainer, Juan de Leon, I do believe it's going to go to Xander Zayas. But, hey, I'm going to stay optimistic. Both those two young talents are still undefeated. So, let's keep our fingers crossed, man. Maybe Puerto Rico can get that new cult hero. Anyways, let's move on to the other fight that was on that card. Josue Vargas. Josue Vargas, my goodness. He got, where is it? Okay. Josue Vargas got a see y'all? You get nervous in front of camera. Your voice starts oscillating. Let me get some water real quick. Did I have my water in here? Hold on. All right. I got to get some water. Let's talk about Josue Vargas. Goodness. Let's talk about Josue Vargas. Josue Vargas got stopped in the second round by Dakota Linger. Dakota Linger was 13-5-3 coming into this. Now, when you get stopped by somebody that's 13-5-3 and you're supposed to be someone considered to be the next elite Puerto Rican fighter, you've got to really reassess what it is you're doing. Now, no knock to Dakota Linger. He's a tough journeyman indeed. He got the second round stoppage over Josue Vargas, but I don't think that was really as it was intended. And I do recall a time when people were thinking Josue Vargas might be the next dude for Puerto Rico, and I think we're all kind of past that phase. It looks like Chon Zepeda might have broke Josue Vargas, folks. They definitely have to do some soul searching. Josue Vargas is trained by his father. Josue Vargas and his dad, his trainer, both have to do some soul searching within themselves. Do they want to keep continually putting Josue Vargas in these situations where it looks like he might have a questionable chin? And unfortunately, having a questionable chin or a chin as sensitive as it seems his turned out to be after that Chon Zepeda fight, I think Josue Vargas really needs to reassess whether or not he wants to keep boxing. It pains me to say that because, you know, obviously he's a young man who grew up in this sport and has dedicated his life to this. He is 20-3 right now. It's going to be very, very difficult to salvage some kind of career at 20-3 in today's current boxing landscape. If this was the 1970s or the 1980s, 3 losses, hey, maybe he can string off 10 to 15 wins and still manage to pull something off. But at 3 losses in a junior welterweight division that's got quite a few talented heavy hitters, I think Josue Vargas needs to reassess what it is he's trying to do. My best thoughts out to that young man. But Josue Vargas got no business losing to a journeyman like Dakota Linger. Josue Vargas has no business losing to a guy like Dakota Linger. Congratulations to Dakota Linger. Josue Vargas, it might be time to go back to the drawing board or seriously consider not boxing professionally. At 20-3, it's going to be hard to come up from that one and put yourself back in the discussion for being an elite fighter in a junior welterweight division that is stacked with some heavy punchers. But anyways, hats off to Dakota Linger on a shocking win. Anybody who put money on that fight in favor of Dakota Linger got paid. Congratulations to you guys. All right, let's go down south. This fight happened at the Hulu Center. Now we're going down south to the Don King promotion. Trevor Bryan got clapped by Danny Dubois. And I'm going to be honest with you, Trevor Bryan was talking a lot of smack at the weigh-in. He threw out the tampon in the douche or something like that with the 50 Cent I smell pussy in the background. Clearly, that was the wrong move. And he should have done that in the first place because on paper, as far as sheer skill set and experience, it looked like Danny Dubois was gonna beat him up anyways. That's kind of what most folks thought was going to happen. Danny Dubois took out Trevor Bryan in 4 rounds in pretty much a showcase which I think most folks thought going into it. Leading up to this fight, Trevor Bryan had never challenged anybody even remotely near Danny Dubois' skill set. So Trevor Bryan loses that minor WBA title. So with this win, Danny Dubois puts himself in position to be the mandatory challenger to Alexander Usyk's real WBA title after he clears out that rematch with Anthony Joshua in the summer. Until then, Danny Dubois did call out Dillian Whyte, which I think would be an interesting matchup. Does Dillian Whyte still have something to offer the elites in the heavyweight division? Is Danny Dubois ready to face the top 5 guys in the heavyweight division? I think so. On to the next for Danny Dubois. Anyways, folks, what did you guys think about those performances this weekend? I want to hear it all. What did you think of Danny Dubois? What did you think of Josue Vargas, or I guess Dakota Linger more appropriately? What did you think of Edgar Berlanga? And what did you think about Jaime Munguia? Let me know in the comments section, folks. Hit that like button. Hit follow if you haven't already done so. This is Hot Boxing Minute, folks. Until the next one.